So my most influential teachers or instructors when I was in Medina, I mean, the most influential person on my life there was definitely Sheikh Abdullah ash-Shanqiti. He was my teacher outside of my formal classes at the university. So I studied with his Tafsir class for 4 years. We covered about half of the Quran. And Sheikh Abdullah was different, and alhamdulillah, he's still alive, but he's fairly advanced in age, in that he was all about the soul and the spirit. You know, he was always trying to bring people back to what really mattered, the priorities, the afterlife, fixing ourselves. And he'd be really, really repetitive. And some people didn't like that, but we needed it. You know, like he would always bring up the example of, you know, when people who are maybe more practicing than others would sit around and they talk about other people who are less practicing and say, oh, may Allah guide them. Yeah, he didn't like that. He would always say, Allah yahdik ant, he said, and may Allah guide you. Like, why are you talking about this other people? You focus on yourself. You know, so he had reminders like that a lot, and sometimes people, it was a tafsir class, but sometimes people would walk by and they'd sit down for 5 minutes and they wouldn't be able to tell what the class was about because he would go over here and over there and on different tangents and things like that. So it was different than your normal kind of, we're going to study this book from beginning to end, etc., etc. And it was also different because, you know, usually classes, especially at the Prophet's Masjid, they attract a certain following. Like there's your certain classes where it's like only like the young guys, the students, the hardcore students are like there. And then you've got other classes that are for non-specialists, you know, people who are there on pilgrimage or whatever. You know, you're going to get a mix of people, or adults or older folks. And Sheikh Abdullah's lesson was different. It had everybody, all different walks of life, different types of people who were just there, temporary laborers, students of knowledge, old men, like you name it, they were there. So it was a very, very different sort of thing. As far as the actual university classes that I had, probably the most impactful professor I had was Sheikh Abdul Fattah. He was one of my tafsir, also tafsir. These guys all gave me kind of my love for tafsir. I had him for 2 different semesters, and he was absolutely brilliant. He was absolutely amazing. He synthesized everything on his own. Like, he was giving us his notes from 5, 6, 7 different works. And he was just very serious and very intense. And the sort of connections that he was making, that's a large part of where I got kind of my, I guess, flavor of tafsir from, or what interests me the most of tafsir. Why did Allah use this word instead of that word? Why did Allah say it in this order here, but then a couple pages later or a couple chapters later, he says it in a slightly different order, right? Trying to get us to make the connections between the different pieces of a chapter or the different chapters themselves, right? Why does Allah describe himself with these particular names right here in this exact chapter? So he got us to think about why this, why that, and I really, really appreciated that approach.